With the college football playoff at its conclusion and a national championship placed in the hands of a deserving program, we are now left looking to see what the results are, what went right for one team, and what went wrong for the next. Want to find out who the winners are and what those results were? Stay tuned to find out on Gridiron Gab Triple Option. Thank you so much for joining us on this edition of Gridiron Gab Triple Option. Of course, you gabbing with the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And I'm sure you guys know the outcome of the Notre Dame and Ohio State football game, as the Buckeyes are able to win their ninth national championship with a 34-23 victory over the 7th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as Ohio State was ranked number 8. And as you guys see, I am sporting my Notre Dame Fighting Irish t-shirt. I hope this doesn't sway you guys into listening to my content, but if it does, hey, I've got to support my colors, and I hope as well as you guys are. You support your colors. I got to give a big gab out to my man Nate. He texts me throughout the game. He's a Buckeye fan, so congratulations to him and any Buckeye fans that may be watching. Brad texted me and gave me a little bit of beef, but he's a good friend as always. And many of you who are Buckeye fans that are out there that are checking us out, congratulations to you as well. You guys have a great football team, and but I will say this: there are a lot of you out there that are very obnoxious. You're on the same level as the Georgia fans in my eyes. Not you, Brad. Not you, Nate. You guys are very classy for your fan base, and I appreciate that. Caught a lot of flack on Facebook from very classless Ohio State and Georgia fans. A lot of SEC fans as well. So, as I said, it's a game, but it's very painful when you come up on the short end of it. If you're passionate about your team like myself, and I'm sure many of you are, it's not fun to continuously come up short on that. Just as much as it has the highest of highs, it also can be some of the lowest of lows. Many of you may understand that. But let us get into the national championship. As I said, the Ohio State Buckeyes won this game 34-23, and they dominated much to the same extent that they did in the Texas game. And I think that gets overlooked. You know, people are saying, really Ohio State won that game really with 2 plays. One, and we talked about that on the other show, but the reality of it is the same thing can be said. As much as Ohio State looked like they dominated this football game, this game was in Notre Dame's reach, and I'll go into it, but let us look at what my buddy Brad has left me, per usual. And, let us look at a little bit. I hope you guys are doing great. We are actually getting snow here right now. So, I hope you guys are safe out there and doing exceptionally well, not being sick, and you've got kids that are out there playing in the snow. Please make sure they got hoodies on. But Brad commented on show that I did in that game between the Buckeyes and the Longhorns. Of course, he always says howdy. I got faith in Ryan Day will screw it up against ND. I don't want to say he screwed it up, Brad, but he almost did. And I will say this: taking that shot down the field was a huge risk. And I'm not going to give, a lot of people are giving so much heat to my defensive back who played a really good game, and I'll tell you like this: I don't like when I hear people say things like they put on the player, but Freeman overcomes the Irish odds, critics, haters to win the national championship show. Brad says, "Yes, sir. Hope you stay well, brother. I will." Thank you so much for the amen, brother. I know, right? Please, I'm tired of being the only one talking. Yeah, definitely, guys, get in there. Jump in there with Brad. If you disagree with something, please. It makes for good conversation, and that's what this is. Ultimately, when this platform grows, we're going to have a round table of people. It's not just going to be my old stuttering self up here talking about it. I want to make this platform something where we can have a bunch of different points of views. Penn State fans, Ohio State fans, Georgia fans, Florida fans. I've got a lot of friends out there that watch the show. Please put your comments down there. You don't have to agree with me. Just don't be rude. I've already got several rude people I got to check on my next show. I know, right? I think it's going to be a close game. I say Ohio State by 3. You almost called it, Brad. I mean, I felt like this was going to be a closer game, and it really was. Yeah. you gotta love Brad. He says Notre Dame rocks. Gotta love him. But let us get into the real business of this game. I really liked the first drive. I mean, it looked so much like this was going to be one of those games that literally was going to be a dogfight until Ohio State came out on the field and punched back. And ultimately, as I said before, Will Howard is not that guy. I'm sorry. I'm still not sold on him. And I'm sitting here listening to people on there saying, oh, well, he did this and he did that. Listen, and many people know I'm not a big fan of how Marcus Freeman is not allowing the passing game to grow. And maybe maybe it's not where he wants. I know a lot of coaches that are trying to do certain things, and I'll be addressing this on one of my shows on Talk Like a Champion. That's my Notre Dame All Access. So if you guys want to watch that, please do. But I will be questioning Marcus Freeman's actual commitment to the pass game and his belief that it is efficient and effective. But I will not question his integrity, and I will not question his tactics, because it was a very well-coached football game. Regardless of what Dan Orlovsky or whatever those knuckleheads that get paid millions of dollars to say dumb stuff, but they've never been in the shoes of a coach. As somebody that has been on the sideline, you have to make these decisions maybe one, maybe two plays ahead of, sometimes even drives ahead. You can't just sit at one point and say, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this all of a sudden. You almost have to have it figured out 2 plays beforehand. And I'm jumping ahead of myself, but let's get into the statistics. As we saw, Will Howard was 17 for 21, 231, 2 touchdowns. Offensive line for Ohio State was good. There was some questionable no calls in that game, but we'll stick to the topic. But I was very impressed with the way they play called this game. The one thing I remember telling Brad, and I told my posse that was here, Will Howard was a running quarterback at Kansas State, and he lost out to the job. That's the reason why he transferred to Ohio State. He lost out on the job, which is why I say, and I remember telling Nate this, that Will Howard never sold me as a quarterback. A lot of this was Chip Kelly's ability to take a quarterback who is, and make him better than he really was. Now, don't get me wrong. He made some pretty good throws. The throw that he made to Jeremiah Smith should have been a touchdown, but he had to wait on it. Just saying. Needless to say, the throw he missed on second down that would have gave Notre Dame the football back had R.J. Oben not made that mistake would have been major. I mean, you're talking about the throw was bad, horribly thrown. But let's get into let's just stay on statistics. Keyshawn Judkins was huge. 11 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. On the run that he broke, a linebacker hit too hard inside and he bounced to the outside. Notre Dame just did a lot of uncharacteristic things that they normally don't do, over pursuing. And, and you have to tip your hat to Ohio State. They're a team that is so good that you cannot make these type of mistakes and not expect to pay for them. TreVeyon Henderson had some punishing runs, but for the most part, he was kept in check. He was 12 for 49, and a lot of people say 4 yards a carry is not really keeping him in check. But then you look on the flip side, Will Howard had 16 carries, 57 yards, and I think he had 3 or 4 runs that resulted in first downs, which were huge, not only in the first half, but the second half. He was quiet for the most part in the second half, but he had some runs that kept things going for them. Outside of the 56-yarder that sealed the game, Jeremiah Smith was kept remarkably in check most of this game. He had 4 grabs for 32 yards, and that touchdown that we saw earlier, Emeka Egbuka was 6 for 64, including that fumble that was a huge game changer for Notre Dame. And yeah, outside of that, it was pretty much nothing. Cody Simon was great on the defensive side, 8 tackles. Sonny Styles, had a sack. JT Tuimoloau had a sack. He's going to be a good pro. Caleb Downs, he's a good player, but I don't understand the talk here. I mean, people are ranting and raving about this kid, and it's just kind of like, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's not all that. I mean, we saw Xavier Watts not really be the guy that we expected. He did have a tackle for a loss. He had 8 tackles. He's going to be a good pro regardless. Drake Bowen had 8 tackles. Leonard Moore had 5 tackles. Jack Kaiser had a tackle and a tackle for a loss. He had 5 tackles, Josh Burnham for Notre Dame, the 6'4" junior, he had 2 sacks on the night. Very impressive for this defensive front that has been riddled with injuries all over the place. That is why it's so important for people to remember. Notre Dame had a ton of injuries, and it can't be overstated enough how impressive it is for them to get here. The senior who was dressed for the last time, Kaiser, had 5 tackles to finish his career. Jordan Clark was impressive as always, 3 tackles on the gate. Christian Gray, who gave up the big gain there. I want to address this real quick because so many people are down in this kid. Ultimately, did I agree with the play call to go 0 and try to get pressure? No. I ultimately would have went 1, and I would have shaded Xavier Watts over towards, and I know people are going to say that's hindsight, but I've got 2 witnesses that said don't all-out blitz. If you're going to all-out blitz, make sure you get all the way up on the line. All the way. And you get in his grits. He's got to make a move on you right quick with that blitz coming. It's either I'm giving up 6 or I'm giving up nothing. Howard's going to have to fit this thing into a wall. The timing's going to have to be perfect. That's what it's going to have to be. And I was totally against the not jamming. If you're going to go cover 0, you got to jam completely. I was not, however, in favor of cover 0 and you're playing off because you need 3rd and 11. All he's got to do is beat you on a slant. And I think ultimately what it boiled down to, Christian Gray was shading him to play the slant. And I think it was an improvisation thing. I think ultimately what it was not completely going to be a go route. I think because Christian Gray was shading him to the inside, and you get people like Desmond Howard, who's supposed to know how that's played, and then you get Dominic Foxworth, who thinks he knows what's going on. Didn't you see why he was fading him? He was basically saying in a nutshell, I'm not giving you anything inside. So I think it was a situation where he just decided, hey, I'm going to, hopefully if I take off up here, he's going to throw me the football. And he did. And you got to give so much credit to the Ohio State coaching staff and somewhat to Will Howard, but the ball was underthrown, to do that and not take the safe way out. Because ultimately, we go back and we look at the numbers that Riley Leonard put up. He was 22 of 31, 255, 2 touchdowns. Riley Leonard had 17 carries, 40 yards. Eventually, Ohio State just said, look, we done with this run. We done with this quarterback run. Jadarian Price had 3 carries, 13 yards. Ironically, he didn't get another carry, which I did not understand. Jeremiah Love had 4 carries, 3 yards. When they saw he was getting the football, and this is a tribute to Ohio State. Ohio State was selling out against the run. Meanwhile, Notre Dame was selling out on the pass. When you watch this game, and I'm sure my counterparts that are out there watching this, you saw Ohio State said, look, if Riley Leonard can throw this thing down the field, then so be it. We are not going to get beat because they ran the ball for 200 yards. And this is where when I had a problem with Mike Denbroke and Marcus Freeman's plan going into this game. Yes, you got that first drive. I get it. You had some different things in the cupboard. I don't know what that play was when Mitchell Evans was running in motion and Riley Leonard called for the snap. Yes, he does have to be better on that. And we've got to, in the future, understand what we're doing. Now, the truth of the matter is Ohio State was able to line up and run right at Notre Dame because Notre Dame understood that you did not want to get beat with these receivers. The real issue I had with the way Notre Dame's defense played this game is that they didn't mix it up. They were basically, in a nutshell, saying, okay, we're not going to let Emeka Egbuka beat us. We're not going to let Jeremiah Smith beat us. We're going to let the running game of Ohio State beat us. It seemed to me like there were too many times on first and second down that Notre Dame was playing back, worrying about the pass. I get it. I understand you don't want to give up the deep ball. But the reality of it is you cannot allow a 70-yard run to Keyshawn Judkins, and you cannot allow a 19-yard scamper by Travion Henderson, and you cannot allow Will Howard to get out on the perimeter. See, that was, to me, the ultimate issue that Notre Dame had is Ohio State was not going to play man for the simple fact is you turn your back to Riley Leonard. Ultimately, it was one of those situations. I'm reminded of a football game, a state championship high school game that my nephew played in. The quarterback for his team, Dublin Irish, he hadn't run the ball much all year. And in the championship game, they were stopping it. Now, mind you, they run the wing T. If anybody knows the wing T, it's not a passing offense at all. It's predominantly 3 backs, and the quarterback can run on occasion. But the reality of it is this quarterback hadn't ran the ball all year. He ended up having a huge game simply because the opposing team had not seen any film on this guy running. It was basically, okay, on occasion he'd run the football, and that was a little wrinkle in it. Ohio State did the exact same thing. And to me, I'm so flattered as a Notre Dame fan that Ohio State waited to use this here. Because outside of that, Notre Dame had them locked down on the passive front. Now, you take the 56-yarder. Howard doesn't even throw for 200 yards, which is a testament to that. However, looking at this game, you look at the totality of it, the yards-wise, you would be hard-pressed to say, wow, this game did look a lot worse than it really did when you look at the totality of the statistical aspect of it, which we'll get to now. 445 to 308, even though, now the first half, it was way one-sided. It was, you look at it and you say 145 yards more, but then Notre Dame outpassed Ohio State. And it goes back to the show that I'm going to put out about Marcus Freeman and his trust with his quarterbacks and his wide receivers. I'm not going to dog out Marcus Freeman. Don't think that's what that's about. I'm hoping this message will get to him. Because in order for you to be a great program, you can't just have a dominant running game. Ohio State's a perfect example of that. They scare you with their weapons. And I have nothing but respect for that. The object in football is to be more dynamic on either side of your offense. And that's the thing that so many people don't get with Ohio State. Everybody talked about how dynamic this passing game is going to be. And for 1 second, Al Golden forgot about Jeremiah Smith. And there's no doubt that Christian Gray is going to get roasted for this, and I hate it for him. I hate it for him because this would have been a situation where, look, I got to say Leonard Moore, and this is no knock on Christian Gray, but Christian Gray has been picked on all season. At one point, I would have been like, no. This is the time when I have to say, I'm putting my freshman on this freshman. And I'm going to let them go mano a mano. But I still think we should have sent however many guys we were capable of sending in man coverage and go cover one and basically shade help over to Jeremiah Smith if we were going to have Christian Gray on him. Now, Christian Gray could have, if he could have recovered, he possibly could have picked that ball off. It's possible. I see what Gray was doing. He was basically saying, okay, third and so on, I've got all out pressure. He's going to have to throw this ball to the marker. He's not going to dare throw this thing deep. He guessed and he guessed wrong. And the reality of it is, good cornerbacks do that. I get it. A lot of people are going to say he's a scrub. He's this, he's that. Lehace, what would you do in that situation? 3rd and 11, are you going, I put it like this, put in the comments, if you were playing Jeremiah Smith one-on-one, and it's 3rd and 11, and you know you got an all-out blitz coming, are you going to be shading him, 1, to the inside, 2, even up, basically even, that's 2, and then 3, to the outside? Let me know in the comments what you would do, and I will see what you think. But the reality of it is, as a former coach and defensive back myself, the reality of it is, I understand if I know I got 3rd and 11. The one thing Gray did that I did not like is that he didn't get his hands on Jeremiah Smith. That's the one thing I didn't like. He should have had his hands on him. And I get it. His whole stake is if they throw this thing inside, I'm going to beat him to the route. And I totally get that, but you got all these analysts like Desmond Howard and Dominic Foxworth are sitting there saying, he knew this was a go route. Who thinks you're going to throw a go route on 3rd and 11? I was screaming at myself. They're going to try to get the first down. I just thought it was a little bit neglectful of Al Golden and Marcus Freeman to think that they were going to run the football and try to run the clock out. But I can't argue with them. I think ultimately Ohio State executed, and Jeremiah Smith knows this is not a moment that's too big for him. He executed the grab, ran a really good go route, and they got the catch and got the W. Ultimately, it led to a field goal, which, needless to say, first half, as I said, was really a huge display of frontline dominance. Make no mistake about it. Ohio State's frontline was very good. And looking at this game and you see the dominance there, I was impressed that Notre Dame was able to make the adjustments and make this a football game. Ultimately, there were a lot of people that were ready to turn this game off. I can tell you exactly what it was like as we look at this game, and it's the highs and lows. Ohio State, when they got the football back in the second quarter and was able to really punctuate a 6-minute drive, 76 yards, and go up 14-7, and then Notre Dame was only able to run the ball for 1 yard. And once again, Ohio State's able to get the punt and take it 80 yards for 4 minutes and 26 seconds. And to see what they were able to do, even after a Josh Burnham sack of Will Howard, you see Carnell Tate come out and get, on 3rd and 7, he gets 20 yards. And even once again, Burnham getting another sack on that drive. He got 2 sacks on that drive. And even then, it was a situation where you see this offensive line did a really good job. And that's when you start seeing Will Howard exercising his ability to run the football. And it becomes a situation where you're not prepared for it. And as I said, Notre Dame goes down 21-7 at the half. And it seemed like this game was completely out of reach. Once they got the ball back in the second half, they go 5 plays, 75 yards in just 2 minutes. After that busted breakdown in the run game, and Keyshawn Judkins is able to take that ball all the way to the 5, and ultimately at 3rd and goal at the 1, Judkins is able to run it in for 6. And then you see the Irish make this go for it. They go for it on 4th down, which was a combination of Faison not being able to hang on, and Angeli putting a little bit too short. And what really was disheartening here as a Notre Dame fan is you waited too long to really start instituting a throw down the field. And Ohio State, and this is no knock on Buckeye Nation, y'all's corners are not equipped to cover. I'm sorry, they're not. Either that or our Notre Dame's receivers are a lot better than they give credit. And I'd say it's a combination of both. Because not only was Jaden Greathouse interfered with several times and they were called, Mitchell Evans was interfered. These guys rely a lot on grabbing and holding. Sorry, Nate, but it's true. But the reality of it is, what I did not like is that we waited until we got in a big hole to challenge these guys. You have to go after these guys when they're all sitting there thinking, okay, Mr. Love's going to get it. When you get in a situation where the opposing team knows you have to do something, you never want to be one-dimensional. And as good, and I get it, people are going to say they were playing a prevent, but Notre Dame was still getting chunks. Chunks. The truth of the matter is, it should not require you being in a 24-point hole before you start saying, okay, I gotta lay my trust in my quarterback's arm, and I gotta lay my trust in my receivers that are gonna make the right plays, and they're gonna make plays. You can't do that. Now, as far as the pass rush that Notre Dame had, I was very impressed with the fact that as good as Ohio State's pass rush has been in the entire college football playoff, I was thoroughly impressed with the way Notre Dame's offensive line held up. They held up exceptionally well. You saw passes to Chris Mitchell, Riley Leonard, to Bo Collins, and even snuck in Jadarian Price on a running play here. Sonny Styles actually sacked Leonard on a play, and then you had pass interference called on for Mitchell Evans, which, as I've said many times before, if you commit pass interference against a tight end, you're not that great in coverage. As I said, Riley Leonard hit Jaden Greathouse on that 2nd and 10 at the Ohio State 34, and Greathouse did most of the work. And for most people that don't know Jaden Greathouse, because we don't have a passing offense, this kid has been great since he was a freshman. And this is kind of where I'm at with the whole Marcus Freeman trusting his guys. You didn't recruit these guys 4- and 5-star players to come here to be blockers. Guys like Jaden Thomas who've made big plays when you need them. The reason why Jeremiah Smith made that big grab at the end of this game is because he's been making catches all season. You can't compare a guy who's caught nearly 100 balls to a guy that's caught 39 balls and then expect him in the clutchest of moments make that grab. I'm going to take the guy that's caught 90 balls 100 out of 100 times. Jaden Greathouse showed when he had that, not only that breakaway run for a touchdown, but then he had that long bomb where the defender's just grabbing, and he sticks it. That's how you make guys stars. Jaden Greathouse's stock has risen tenfold, not because of this game, but people are seeing what he can be. And I'm still hearing Notre Dame analysts saying that they need a deep play, a playmaker. They need a deep threat. What did Jaden Greathouse just show you? See, I want all of you to understand. There are certain people that put seeds into people's heads that either you're not as good as you think or you're better than you're supposed to be. I'm a firm believer that Ohio State arguably is one of the best teams in probably in the last 8-9 years. But I also say that Notre Dame and Texas need to be given a lot of credit for what they were able to do. As I said, Texas, and if you watch that show, you guys will see what I'm talking about. Texas was right there. Same thing with Notre Dame, and we'll get into it. When Notre Dame was able to get this game down, and Ibuka, who, like I said, you can't trust any of your players. They go say, I'm down. You clearly were not down. Big play needed to be made. It was. You get the 2-point conversion on the previous drive, and it makes it 31-15. Ohio State's driving. Ibuka got too cute, wouldn't go down. Boom, ball comes out. And I want to address this, and I want all of you guys that are watching, I want you guys to tell me, what did you think about Marcus Freeman kicking the field goal when he had 4th and goal at the 9? First of all, I'll tell you, give me a 10 in the comments if you thought he made the right choice, and give me an 11 if you think he made the wrong decision to kick the field goal. I'm going to tell you exactly why I think he made the right decision. He said it at his press conference. I agree with somewhat. So he said at the press conference he didn't think, he thought 4th, and if it would have been 4th and 4 or less, he would have went. He thought 4th and 9 was a difficult ask. I somewhat agree with that, but I liked the other answer that he gave, and it's 100% within line. Because I said right there with the people I was watching the game with, my brother and a few, I said kick the field goal. Because if you recall, it's a 16-point deficit. Okay? I want all of you to follow me. And then I hear Dan Orlovsky talking about, you just don't know how many you're going to have left. Well, guess what? Outside of that 50-yard bomb that was gutsy, nonetheless, if Jeter makes the field goal, it's a 13-point game. I get sick of side seat coaches that have never been in a situation that don't know what they're talking about. I love the fact that Marcus Freeman said it's easier to score 14 than it is to score 16. Because here's the reality. If you don't get one of these 2-point conversions, you're in the same position. But guess what? Instead of chasing points, like a lot of coaches do, guess what Marcus, had Jeter made that field goal, watch this, ladies and gentlemen, watch this. Because the next drive, if Jeter makes it, let's play what if. It's 31-18. You're down 13 points. Watch this. The very next drive, Will Howard burns you for a first down. That was the only thing that happened. And then you get a 3rd and 3 where, like I said, I tell you all the time, Will Howard is not as good a quarterback as you think. He's surrounded by talent. He's just good enough to get the job done. Notre Dame gets the ball back, and with 2 minutes and 10 seconds, burnt off the clock, they go 80 yards. Greathouse, 30 yards for a touchdown. Watch this. Riley Leonard pass to Collins for 3. Riley gets sacked by JT. By JT Tuimoloau. And Mitchell Evans picks up 33 down to the Ohio State 31. So you got 2 big pass plays on that drive. And you got 12 yards from Bo Collins to start the drive. Which is, as I said before, yes, you're playing a prevent, but you still got to make the throws. And as I said, you hit Greathouse for that beautiful downfield, which, as I said many times, Ohio State's pass rush is elite, but their secondary is not. They ain't all that. And me and Nate, we talked about this. I can tell you right now, if it was this, it would be 34-26. Now, guess what? The dealing is really there. Do you think with a 6-point game, watch this, ladies and gentlemen, do you honestly think, with it being 31-23, there's a different dynamic there, ladies and gentlemen? I want you to think real hard about what I'm about to say. And this is no knock on Ryan Day. Do you think Ryan Day runs the risk of throwing this thing down the field on 3rd and 11 if this was a 5-point game as opposed to a 8-point game? I want to hear you guys in the comments. Let me know. Give me a 20 in the comments if this is a 31-26 game. Does Ryan Day even think about putting Jeremiah Smith on a go route? Put 21 if you think he doesn't send Jeremiah Smith on a go route on 3rd and 11. I can almost tell you his butt cheeks are puckered and he's hoping he can run a slant and beat Christian Gray across his face. He's going to try to run a deep slant. He's not going to try to throw that thing down the field because he's got to get a completion. This is a low percentage pass. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, why wouldn't he do it if he's down 5? I'll tell you why. Because the risk is deeper. Now you run the risk of losing this game. It's not a matter of whether Notre Dame can tie the game. This is why I can't stand guys like Orvalowski that's sitting there saying, I don't know why you kicked the field goal. Because you were just 157-yard pass away from winning this game.
You fucking idiot.
Do all of you see the logic here? The thought process was beautiful. Whether people admit it or not, and maybe Nate can tell me, Ohio State fans were sweating once Notre Dame made this a 31-23 game. Because it went from the highest to high, which was 31-7, to all of a sudden you've got an 8-point game. A 1-score game. I will never, ever question what the Ohio State Buckeyes were able to do. But one thing I saw in that Texas game is that Ohio State laid it on heavy and then they got complacent. They did the same thing in this game. Go back to every game that every team has played. Very few teams have had a perfect 60 minutes. And the one thing you have to consistently, even in the Oregon game, Ohio State had moments of where they took their foot off the gas. Texas was able to do exactly what Notre Dame was doing. The only difference is Texas was never in a situation where they were out of the game until late. Notre Dame looked like they were dead and they came back. And almost had Jeter made that kick, and I'm not going to put this all on him either. But Jeter's got to make that kick. If he makes that kick, guess what? This is a pucker. This is a game where, oh snap, here we go. Notre Dame is able to get downfield, score a touchdown. Now we got a problem. Because here we are. Let's say this play goes incomplete. And it comes up 4th down and 11 at the OSU 34-yard line. Now what do you do? With 2 minutes, 38 seconds left? Because Notre Dame knows what it's got to do. It's got to score. Let's say you kick the ball. And let's say it goes down to the 20. Let's say there's 2 minutes, 30 seconds left in this. Let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say it's 2 minutes, 38 seconds. Let's say 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Notre Dame's got the ball, and they're going to have timeouts. I think they had 2 timeouts there. No, they had 1 timeout. I'm sorry. So Notre Dame had 1 timeout remaining. No, 2 timeouts, So now you're in a situation where if they get the ball back and they got 80 yards to go, because realistically, when they got the football back, they got a 17-yarder from Riley Leonard that ended the game. You had a pass completed to Jeremiah Love that was minus 2 yards, and they had 21. They only ate up 21 seconds. They had gotten all the way to the Notre Dame 40 before in 21 seconds. So now you're looking at a situation where you got to stop them to keep from losing this game. And then not to mention Notre Dame's got a timeout. And then you got to also look at the fact that could Notre Dame run the football some more? Especially the way they have been throwing the ball the last 2 drives. But as I said, Ohio State's the national champs, and I totally think that this defensive front was one of the best. Secondary, they got out of here with having an average secondary that just grabs. They're not good. I don't care what anybody says. They're not. And for a decent Notre Dame passing game to expose that, you can call it they're playing prevent, this, that, and other. It looked like pretty tight coverage to me for a prevent. A prevent is you let him catch the ball right in front of you and you don't let him get behind you. Jaden Grayhouse got behind. But Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 23. These guys have nothing to hang their hats about. Congratulations once again to the Ohio State Buckeyes. Oh, I got to give a rundown of the receiver list. Jaden Grayhouse had another 100-yard game, 6 grabs, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. Mitchell Evans in his final game as a Notre Dame Fighting Irish, 4 grabs, 52 yards. Bo Collins, 4 catches, 32 yards. Eli Reardon had a great grab and a couple of grabs, 2 catches, 20 yards. Chris Mitchell, 2 grabs, 16 yards. Jordan Faison, 1 for 6. And Kingston Villamuasa had that fumble recovery of Emeka Ibuka, as I said, and ultimately it was the only turnover of the entire game. Mitch Jeter's only kick was no good. Jaden Fielding for the Ohio State Buckeyes had 2 big kicks in this game, so major gap out to him of being able to win the game in the same building in which they lost a couple of years ago to the Bulldogs. But as I said, congratulations to the Buckeyes. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish fall in this one, and they will finish the season at number 2 in the college football polls. And both teams will go into the offseason looking to see what they can do so they could possibly return to this type of glory. But that's going to do it for us as we close out this year's college football season with an exciting matchup. But make sure you guys hit me up on Gridiron Gab Triple Option and also join the group as Brad has done and find out all the cool things that I'll be caught up in on this show. I will still be doing shows during the year, and I will be trying to capture some of your guys' attention as well as being able to put some really good stuff out there. Make sure you join the group and make sure you add this platform to your Facebook list. Also, go to my Instagram at Mr. CeeLo and find out all of the shenanigans I'll be caught up in during the off season. Don't forget to leave comments down there, and also the questions I asked you during the show. Leave your comments and also leave your thoughts down there. But until the next time, same Gab channel, same Gab platform.